Anand. So with that, thank you so much. We look forward over to Dr. Pankaj.
Oh, thank you very much, madam. Uh, I will just give a brief introduction about today's speaker. Uh, Dr. Nair is the former professor and head of the Department of Computational Biology and Bioinformatics at the University of Kerala, Trivandrum. He has been instrumental in shaping the landscape of bioinformatics education and research in India. Dr. Nair holds a BTech degree in electrical engineering from the College of Engineering Trivandrum and the MTech from IIT Bombay. He then went on to earn an MPhil in computer speech and language processing from University of Cambridge, UK. And most important thing that you will be I will tell you that he holds two PhD degrees, one in engineering and another one in music. Yesterday I could under, so he has two such degrees, and this is a very rare like a person who has accomplished so much in in the academics and the main stream can spare so much of time, and he has accomplished a PhD degree in music. So that's it's an inspiration for all of us that how we should also spare some time for our hobbies if we have something. He accolade, his accolade speaks volume. He has been a recipient of Kerala government's Young Scientist Award, the National Award for Engineering Teaching by ISTE, and the INSA's National Teachers Award, among many others. As a mentor, he has guided over 30 PhD scholars and authored more than 20 books in both English, Malayalam, spanning topics from Python programming and to historical fictions. Beyond his academic brilliance, Dr. Nair is also a vocal advocate for heritage conservation and social awareness, making him a truly multidisciplinary personality. Today, we are fortunate to have him with us to deliver a distinguished lecture on the evolution of new biology, a subject that promises to unravel the dynamics and interdisciplinary transformation biology is transformation biology undergoing in the 21st century. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Nair to the dais. Please, sir. Wherever.
I'd like to hold that mic. That is easier. Somebody, when I say next, let somebody.
Yes, why not?
Yeah. We have the presentation on.
Yeah.
Very good morning, Dr. Tharu, dear fellow researchers, students. I would request those of you sitting far away there, maybe, you know, there are some chairs here which are vacant. Maybe you could.
Please move to this side.
Education is
Please.
coming forward.
Yeah.
Those who are.
Students, please come on the left side or center of the auditorium, please. Yes, it is.
You can also come forward rather than sit far away. Those who are in the extreme rows, would you mind coming? First of all, I am very pleased and I would say very honored that far away from Trivandrum, a retired professor has been invited to address you. Some of the things that I may say, some of it may be insightful to you, but most of it I promise you would be entertaining to you. I hope to talk for about less than an hour, and then Madam wanted me to have an interaction with you. I'm very happy to do that. My background has been explained to you, so you shouldn't expect that I'm an expert in biotechnology or in any field in which you seem to be working with. So I'm very happy to stand corrected if I make any technical mistake, because I'm a teacher, and which means I'm a student. Okay, can we go on to the next slide? So I always think a touch of language of the place where you go. makes people's heart warm. It always warms my heart when somebody comes from outside and say something in Malayalam. So I got the help of Google to say this. Does this mean good morning? I suppose so. Next. Next. I'm not showing these pretty pictures here just like that. There is some science, as we will mention on the way. When we see this, some biology works. So I will indicate that with a more strong example later. This is a typical Kerala imagery, that you suddenly, even the faint smell of the coconut leaf actually now comes to me, wafts. So this is where I was working, the Department of Computational Biology and Bioinformatics. For about 20 years, I was a happy teacher here. Can you go to the previous slide? Yeah. Can you see a window there? It's on the top of the building. So through the window you look, you see the sky. And those plant that grows down and touches the ground. So the idea is to have your thought in the sky and feet on the ground. But very often this has to be told to people. Next. So this is another panoramic view of the department. Next. So this is the classroom where I used to lecture before I retired, where I taught Python programming and machine learning. So people have to remove their footwear, walk barefooted, and go into a place which is like like a hole made in the sand, soil, and you have to sit there. So this is a beautiful memory of my teaching career. Next. So this was a small meeting going on in that classroom. Next. This is also a classroom. Next. So this is a break during the class. So I think you can understand why I am a happy teacher. Next. So this is a wall sculpture in the building, in the wall behind the building, which watches the whole drama that unfolds in the department for many years. Next. So I have been introduced, but I reintroduce myself. I have been, or I could say, I am still a happy teacher. Next. I'm very happy to be here. I have been to Hyderabad a couple of times before. Next. The imageries that come to my mind when I come to the land of Telugu is, of course, one is Lord Venkata. You call it Venkatachalapati? Yeah. Nanaya, I understand, the name is very close to the father of Malayalam in Kerala, who is called Eluthachan. This also seems to be father. And Annamaya, Annamacharya. And of course, I thought I shouldn't miss out a name of science. I think you know who this is, right? Yella Pragada. Subara, okay, the name is there. And of course, Tyagaraja, he didn't live here, but he's the person who makes Telugu popular all over South India because he wrote most of his songs in Telugu. Next. And I think you know in Kerala, when we think of a Telugu actor, now, of course, we can think of, what is his name? Allu Arjun, is it? Okay. But I'm an old guy, so I still think of N.T. Ramarao. And there is a Malayalam actress called Sharada. She hails from Andhra Pradesh and she acted in so many films in Kerala. And I must say, when I think of any place where I visit, I think of a river that really makes that culture and the life of that place. And I understand it is Godavari in this part of the country. My pranams to Godavari. Okay, next. I want to tell you, we have a poet who knew Telugu 200 years ago in Kerala. And he was king of Trivandrum. His name is Swati Tirunal. And here is a line that he wrote in Telugu. Manavinira Sami Ninnu Namiyunanu Maremi Kanudaina Sheshu Nivai Velayusri Patmanabha. Madam speaks Hindi. I want to tell you, he is also our first Hindi poet. 200 years ago, he wrote 40 songs in Hindi. And very simple Hindi that everybody in South India could understand. Devani Kepadi Indra, Tara Kepadi Chandra. That is what he wrote, one of the songs. Next. And when I come here, I think of very hot chili pickle. And here is our version in Kerala. Doesn't this work your biology? or chemistry, biochemistry? When you see this, something happens with your body. It does. And you must know this is called ethnicity. The same stuff shown to a person in Japan does nothing in his or her body. But in our body, it works. It does some wonders. Okay. Okay. So that is by the way of a small friendly intro. When I put his name, I thought it was understood from my perspective, but many people thought I was going to talk of evolutionary theory. No, I'm just talking about how a new biology is emerging, a word that is already popular, but my take on it. I think you would have understood that my background is very different. When people from a different background look at a subject, they see different things. They raise different questions. They share different perspectives, some of which may be useful, some of which may not be, some of which may be just curious. When I was put in charge of the bioinformatics facility in Kerala University, I had no biology background. I had only a computer background. But if you put a biology person there, then they may not have a computer background. So in anyway, somebody had to be put with half the knowledge in that case. So I sat through the MSc zoology program for the whole 2 years, sat with students in the laboratory, and I did not do experiments, but I watched them do all the experiments. Using the microscope, doing the gel electrophoresis, doing the PCR, everything I watched. So I know what it is, but I am not an expert. And how do I see biology from a perspective of a rather technical, you could say, computing, engineering person? This would be of some use to you or some surprise to you. So that's what I'm going to try to do. So these are few things I would be discussing. One is the context of biology seems to have transformed in the recent years. Biology is not doing things now. Biology is talking about the history of life and also future of life. This is something that many of you know, but I have paraphrased it like this. That biology is now being viewed from different windows, not from the window of the traditional life scientists, but from different windows. I call it the BioX portfolio. I will explain what it is later. And BLAST has at the kind of the sign of transformation of biology, how very, very verbose discussions, for example, about theory of evolution, have suddenly become irrelevant because BLAST is at the center, where a quantitative answer is being given to questions which were not there. Perspectives have emerged in biology because of this, which is very contextual in this institution. The institution bears the name National Institute of Animal Biotechnology. Technology is not a word that ever I thought biologists could be carrying. But today, many institutions in life science carry the word technology. So biology has changed from science to engineering and technology. There is a branch of life science which has become engineering and technology. How is that? And let us discuss that also. And one thing I thought everybody here seems to be very aware of, which I again overstate by saying that we understand studying human beings or animals are not just studying them alone, but they coexist with many other organisms and their health. You refer to it as One Health possibly, and especially microorganisms. Understanding them only would complete your knowledge of the organism itself. And finally, I want to also make a small mention of how AI is transforming our research in life sciences. These are the things that I would be covering. Next. Previous. I mentioned about how the landscape of biology has changed. Understanding or studying the process of life now was what was being done earlier until the advent of Darwin. So Darwin's contribution to biology is that he made us all realize that if you want to understand the whole process of life, you have to study its history. And that is the single statement about Darwin. And we were studying, I've put two axes, one is space and another is time. So Darwin stretched biology to the past, study of biology to the past of biology. And the space in which biology was being studied until the microscope was invented was what the naked eye could see. And once the microscope was invented, then we went into excellent instrumentation facility, and I am told you could see nanometers with your microscope. So the depth of what you are studying about life also changed. So in this axis also there was movement. And now with synthetic biology, where you are trying to actually produce organisms which would have naturally evolved millions of years later by artificially modifying the genome and trying to produce, if not organisms, certain molecules that those organisms could produce right now. And therefore, we are concerned about the future also. So this is how landscape of biology has changed in the 21st century or in the last, a few decades of the last century also. Next. So we know that, and this is a small example of how this is in practice. Trying to study your history, very recent history itself has become a big business. People are trying to trace ancestry, relations. My brother is a professor in the US. So he told me that there is a service there. I'm sure it must be available here also. There is a database in which you could contribute a blood sample, and then they would sequence a relevant part of it, and then they would deposit it there. And if already anything else deposited there is shown as your close relative, it will immediately flag you. So my brother called me and said he put his DNA sample there, and it very correctly showed his cousin who is in Delhi, who also seems to have sequenced and put a sample there. And he said this is seems to be very trustworthy because his cousin has been identified as a close relative. But he then told me what is very, very shocking is that somebody else in Punjab is being shown as cousin. And he said, don't tell father or mother about this. So there are a large number of studies in which your history of human evolution itself is being studied with DNA, with very quantitative methods. And talking about migrations, talking about caste. Earlier there were issues about fixing somebody in a reservation list. Anthropologists used to advise by looking at their common features but now no longer. You have DNA studies which say whether these people belong to that ethnic group or the other ethnic group. So this is being done. These all actually talk about how history has pervaded into study of biology. Next. I met Dr. Taru during a seminar on science and technology and women. And I mentioned there that, if women, I actually head a science organization now called Shastra Vedi. And, women have a better chance of equality in modern society, not merely because of social revolutions and transformations, but also because of science and technology. And I have pointed out one very important thing is the DNA test. People don't realize that DNA test is what has empowered women. If there were no DNA tests, if you watch old movies, you would see that the heroine is crying, going to commit suicide or going to react simply because she's pregnant and the person responsible for it does not own it up. But today, no such story can come up in the cinema because the moment such thing happens, such things may not happen because there are contraceptives. And if at all it happens, then no person can deny the responsibility because you just run a DNA test, it can be proved that this person is responsible. So we have no longer any story like that in any movies. But people, once something is achieved, people forget about its relevance. Then they look for next things. So I have actually pointed out that how biology is really helping, scientific research in life sciences is helping even the equality of gender equality in our world. Next. I think you all know of this famous analogy of blind men and an elephant. Indians, because the original one says 6 men of Hindustan to learning much inclined went to see an elephant. They were blind. So somebody looked at the tusk, somebody looked at the trunk, somebody looked at the tail, and they described the elephant very differently. But the real elephant is a collection of all of this, or rather an integration of all of this. Now, if biology also is like an elephant, and scientists are like blind men and women trying to understand what is the process of life. Next. The blind men and women trying to understand biology. I would say this is what I call as the bio-X portfolio. Biology, the traditional life scientists who looked at organisms and tried to describe them, tried to make theories about them, and went on looking at and observing and talking about it. And then came the biochemists who said, no, you cannot study life like that. If you want to study life, you have to study its chemistry. So they said biochemistry is required to really understand the process of life. Then came the biophysics person who said, no, you cannot study just like that. There are molecules which seem to be playing very important part in the game of life. And these molecules act because of their shape. And if you want to study their shape, you come to us, we will do X-ray crystallography, we will find out what is the structure and tell you. Only then you can do anything. So you may know that one of the landmarks in the modern biology is the discovery of the structure of the DNA and maybe the triple helix in India also. It has been done in physics laboratories. You know, X-ray was impinged on the crystals and it's where it's scattered, the photographic plate is there and then this imagery is taken and do a mathematical analysis on it using Fourier theorem, mathematical theorem, and then you predict what its structure is. Today we stand in a different position in that aspect. We don't need most of this. We have the sequence of, if it is protein, you have sequence of the amino acids. The amino acid chain is there. Then 2024 Nobel Prize went to two guys who developed a software which is called AlphaFold, which will predict. You don't need to wait for 1 year and spend 1 crore rupees to, get this structure elucidated. But anyway, so biophysics said, so you have the hypothesis called structural biology hypothesis, which means structure determines function. Akriti determines prakriti. That is what you could translate. In Kerala, I don't know, in Andhra also you say that. In Kerala, you want to threaten somebody, you say, I will change your shape. I will hit and change your shape. What happens if you hit and change somebody's shape? Then they no longer can function like they did before. If your hand is broken, you no longer can write. So if you are hit here and you cannot turn this side, then you cannot see what is happening on this side, your function changes. So all that came with biophysics. Biomathematics is also there. I will make a reference to it after some time. And then can bioinformatics be far behind? You study life based on the information that seems to be stored inside cells. Specifically inside the nucleus, inside the chromosomes, in the DNA molecules. God, if at all God created us, or if nature created us, it uses a pen with 4 rings. You have seen pens with 4 refills? So similarly, nature has a pen with 4 refills. Each of them, 1 nucleic acid is filled, and God seems to be just playing with it and putting dots, just like that, inside the nucleus in the DNA. And through that, your genomic destiny is written down, and can you study life, answer questions of life based on this also? You cannot say it can answer all questions. So like the story of the elephant, the real, if you want to understand the elephant, you have to put all these together, all these views together, all the views through these different windows together. And then the real process, real picture emerges, starts to emerge. So we are in a far better situation than what we were 100 years ago in understanding life, but we are still miles to go before it can be said as achieved. Next. So along with that, many interdisciplinary perspectives emerged because a lot of other people started looking at it and they had different backgrounds and different perspectives. New things emerged. For one example is, why do you read genome? When you pull out the DNA sequence, you sequence it, you put symbols A, G, C, T, and then you start reading it. But who asked you to read it? Whoever said it must be read. Why don't you sing it? Why do you put English characters there? A, G, C, T. You put some other character, would it have a very different texture? Or put numbers, it has a different texture. So I didn't have the file with me. You can look up the internet or on my website, and you will find that I read and sang a genome in Raga Kalyani, and I made a program for it so that it is automatically produced, just for fun. But the question remains, who asked you to read? So this is a preset mind that information has to be read. Information can be seen, can be sung. So these all produce very different new perspectives. Even though I won't talk about singing, I will be talking about seeing information. I will do that in a moment. I will play that if possible at the end of it. Then using tools which normally biologists would have never used. For example, use the Fourier analysis for gene finding. In fact, my confidence in remaining in the area of bioinformatics was that once I started reading, I find that in earlier days, gene finding was done using an algorithm which used Fourier analysis. And to me, I thought Fourier analysis was something very specially discovered for electrical engineers. Because when you study the huge alternators used in power stations, their waveforms were studied using Fourier theorem. And suddenly I find biology is using that to understand where the genes are. Given a sequence, genome, where are the genes? So these all happened possibly because engineers started getting connected to biology. It could not have come from biologists. And another great example is genome comparison algorithm used in BLAST. BLAST is like Google, biology of Google. Sorry, Google of biology. The difference is that in Google, you put very small keywords, which are 10 characters, 15 characters, 20 characters. But in BLAST, your keyword could be 10,000 characters long. But still, BLAST gives an answer that is as fast as Google and makes much more contribution to science. And the algorithm used for that has been taken from artificial intelligence long ago, where speech processing, two pieces of speech being compared, same algorithm is used in BLAST. Of course, then later a lot of refinements specific to bioinformatics came. But I would say BLAST is, like a very, very important tool that demonstrates how different knowledge can help biology to change its complete complexion. I will come back to that. And finally, AlphaFold. Now, AlphaFold is no surprise because you have alpha proof in mathematics. You give your theorem that you want to prove. If it is provable, it will prove and give you. Every field is actually being influenced by alpha. Now, anything that goes with alpha is an AI tool in science. Next. So broader picture, because of these interdisciplinary perspectives, large number of people from different disciplines engaging in research in life sciences, a broader, microbiome, for example, is understood. Some common techniques are used to study them, and different techniques are evolved for each specialized area. And we have a far better, far more broader, integrative look at how life process is. Next. And maybe you could add Juncome also. And I mentioned earlier about biology changing from science to science and engineering, and from analysis to analysis and synthesis. Now, what is engineering? I would say, in very simple terms, engineer means to make. So a traditional biologist does not make. They look, they study, they explain, they theorize, they observe, but they don't make anything new. Isn't it? 100 years ago, if somebody is studying biology, they are just trying to understand how these animals or plants or microbes behave. They don't make anything. But if you ask a civil engineer is not there just to study something. A civil engineer obviously has to make roads, make buildings, make bridges, make dams. Electrical engineer would make motors. The mechanical engineer would make engines, air conditioners. The computer engineer would make computers. So their keyword is make. So what do you say now? Biology makes. That is why you have the word biotechnology. You are making things. So this is also related to modifying life forms and producing useful things out of it, molecules or even life forms itself. So very simple example is, biology has understood the scope for engineering in biology. I remember reading the book by Jeremy Rifkin's called The Biotech Century. If you haven't read, you must. It's 25-year-old book, but still very relevant. So he calls biotechnology as green fire. Green fire. Like scientists were able to melt metals and produce new alloys, he says biotechnology enables scientists to melt living beings and produce newer forms, or rather copy phenomena in one living being to another. The best example is the firefly, and I think you all know that we have succeeded in transferring the gene, not only maybe not from, but from some fish, which has similar effect, to animals and plants. So this is the one which is a controversial one, GFP, green fluorescent protein bunny. I think Professor Martin Chalfie was the one for which he was given Nobel Prize in chemistry, possibly. So you can transfer the ability of the firefly to that of a rabbit. Because no government permits, none of this has been tried out on human beings. Otherwise, I could also have a baby which is able to emit light. When the power goes off, it emits lights, it can read books. It's possible. There is a lot of immense industrial potential. For example, you use a lot of body sprays and perfumes and all that. There is no need. If your parents wanted, they could have made sure that you were made in a test tube and had all the genes that are required by you in your future life put there in your body. One of which could be that which produces the perfume of jasmine flowers taken from the jasmine plant. And then, when you walk around, there will be fragrance of jasmine. You don't want anybody to come near you, then you can put onion or, garlic. This is what in the Kerala University the students did with the small kit on bacteria. We cannot, I must say that we must thank all religions for having never made any reference to bacteria. And that is the only reason why a lot of scientific research goes on. If you touch bacteria, nobody is concerned. No, because no Vedic books, no holy books refer to bacteria as either evil or divine. And so we are able to do things on it. Next. I also want to share, as a person from engineering background, how the approach of science and engineering differs. I don't take it as very correct, but as a metaphor only. In a minister calls the electricity board, in Kerala it's called electricity board, chief engineer, and says, oh, people from some province are complaining that the voltage is very low there. So they are saying they want a transformer put there so that the voltage is lifted. Can we do this? Is it possible? How much would it cost? So the chief engineer says, sir, I will come back with a report. And when does he come back? He comes back the same day or the next day with a report and says that, okay, if it's such and such place a transformer is put, then the voltage would go up. Then such and such a line would get slightly overloaded, so we will have to upgrade that. And this generating station will slightly get overloaded, so we better plan for one more generator there. All the answers are given the next day morning. Where does the answer come from? The answer comes from a simulated software of the... I'm sorry, AI is working without permission. Where does it come from? It comes from years of toil by engineers, whereby they have written down a mathematical model for the electrical power system. And whatever you want to ask about the electrical power system, you don't have to go and test it out. This software called electric power flow software, you can just click and drag a transformer there and say simulate. And then it will immediately show what voltages and currents are there, and you are able to make an assessment. But do the same thing. I mean, I'm not sure whether this is a good example, but I think just for the purpose of impressing you, I'm saying. Suppose a minister, health minister calls during Corona times, calls a scientist from a life science organization and say, somebody is claiming that if the pH value inside the mitochondrial compartment is raised, then Corona will stop immediately. Can you go and find out if this is possible? What would the scientist do? Do you think the scientist would come back the next day? Surely not. They might come back after a few weeks, but with what? Not with an answer, but with a project proposal, which says 3 crores of rupees, 2 PDFs, 10 research assistants, this machine, that machine. And what will they do? They will possibly go and change the pH and come back and say what happens. If that was the case with the electricity board, it would have been a disaster. You go and connect a transformer and see whether it works, it blows up. So the engineer and the scientist are very different. The engineer is emboldened by a model, mathematical model of whatever they are studying. Mathematical model has been evolved. The electric motor, the mathematical model is available. For the computer, the mathematical model is available. For the engine, the mathematical model is available. Unfortunately, life scientists have been crossed with mathematics. Isn't it? Those who go to study life science, some of them go there because, oh, thank God there is no maths. But we need now a new generation of life scientists who are comfortable with not only life science, but with high-end maths called calculus. I want to bring your attention to the fact you have heard of a subject called calculus. What is calculus? Unfortunately, all the maths books are very terrible. They have no life in it. That is why life scientists turn away from it. But if you ask me as a teacher, what is calculus? I would say calculus is the science of change. Change is but another word for life. If there is no change, there is no life. So calculus is so well suited to study life. But unfortunately, we have no trained cadre of people who respect both high-end maths and life science. If it were there, these models should have started emerging. We already have some models. For example, you go and check the Japanese project, E-cell project. They have been trying to attempt to make a model, mathematical model of the cell. So once the mathematical model comes, the minister asks the scientist, what happens if pH in the mitochondrial compartment changes? The person, the scientist would go and do the same thing that the chief engineer does. He would start the E-cell simulation, right click on the mitochondrial cell, then it will show so many parameters. The current pH is this, you kind of plus and increase it. Then let it run for an hour and see what it does to the coronavirus or its attack. This is the ultimate dream of modern new biology. Use calculus to model every process. Then somebody might come back and say, no, you can model your transformer and machine and all that. That is all fine. They are all human-made machines and you are making their model. But life is not human-made, designed by humans. Maybe you can say it's human-made also, some ways, but not designed by humans. We don't have a blueprint of it. And how do you then model it? But then, a very famous computer science professor called Donald Knuth, when he retired, he was asked, what is the biggest challenge of computer science? And do you know his answer? He said, computer scientists have 500 years of work to do in biology. That's what Donald Knuth said. 500 years of work to do in biology. He meant not only computer science, he meant maths also. So this is new biology is trying to make very early stages, but I'm very sure that this will add a very different dimension to biology. Next. I will go faster. I think these new things that you're doing with biology, they have a lot of implications on our society. For example, we know that human beings fight over color, skin color. If you look at history, that is what you find. In India, you call it caste, and in uh, Africa, you call it apartheid, and in America, you call it racism, whatever you call that. So the solution was nearly there from Trivandrum some years ago, but unfortunately it didn't work. Next. So this hen was discovered in, came up in newspapers in Kerala. The speciality of the hen was that it would be, for 3 months, it would be black. And next 3 months, it would be white. And one professor from my university went and purchased this, paying a good amount of money. And when media people asked, why, what is special in this? He said, this is some gene which is erroneously working, but very useful. If you can isolate this gene and infuse it into human society, what would happen? January, February, March, everybody is very dark. April, May, June, everybody is very white. Then scientists would definitely find ways of having a choice on this and changing the duration. You eat a pill, then for 6 months you can remain black if you want, something like that. So, and I'm not joking. I think that we will soon see some such examples where long-standing issues in the human society will get solved. AI is already doing that in many other sectors. Next. Same with cow. I think cow is, to some people, very divine, at the center of their agricultural life. You cannot blame them. For some people, it is a very tasty meal as well. This is Kerala beef fry with a lot of onion and chili on top of it. Who to take sides, we do not know. But we don't need to. We have solution. I think many of you know that we will have lab-grown meat soon. So you don't have to kill cattle, and the meat will come with the same taste, same quality, everything. And in India, it is likely to be called ahimsa meat. You don't kill and you still get meat. Incidentally, I want to also mention about, in India, killing the cow is considered to be, by a large number of people, not a very good thing. But what did Britishers do with cow? I would like to point out. They killed cows and they used the meat. Then they found that all the waste was difficult to manage. They put it in a dryer, they powdered it, and then they mixed it with the drink given to the cow. And the cow, which is vegetarian, did not know that this was non-vegetarian, ate. For years it ate. And then there was a viral attack because of this. And then the cow starts walking as if it is drunk. And this is called the mad cow disease. I think you must have heard of. One very eminent scientist whom I heard speaking when I was young said, why do you call this mad cow disease? Why don't you call this a madman disease? To make the cow eat its own meat. Is that something madness in the cow or madness in the human beings? Anyway, next. So lab-grown meat is already there. There is some kind of stigma on it, meat coming from the laboratory, but it will change. That is my feeling. Next. You find that in Singapore, if you go, you get chicken also. Lab-grown chicken is now licensed to be sold in Singapore. And if you go to restaurants, you can actually buy this. Next. Now, I want to point out the role of bioinformatics. I call it the computational microscope. I earlier mentioned when microscope came, your understanding of life began to become deeper or more detailed. And when you can also use a computational microscope. I call algorithms as computational microscopes. They give you vision that normally you don't get. Next. Now, this is something that comes from my special expertise in machine learning. It might be surprising for you to know. I visited your laboratory facility where a lot of microscopes were there. Microscopes show you what is there really inside that specimen that you have given. It is only that you cannot see it with the naked eye. It reveals it to you by magnifying. But here is that what computers do. It can extract, I can only say this word, deeply hidden artifacts in the information of the image. Not from the image, but information of the image. You give the picture of a hen by a process known as convolution, actually a simple process which involves multiplication and addition. It can extract certain deeply hidden artifacts from that picture. Please note, these are not internal organs of the hen. These have nothing to do with biology. These are mathematically produced, deeply hidden images. Now, what scientists observed was that when the hen moves, some of these pictures don't move, they don't change. And therefore, they found that that can be used to identify whether it is a hen or not, because it seems to be something intrinsically hidden in that picture of the hen. Now, this is widely being used. We are already using it. We may not have heard of this, but we are using it. Identifying yourself. If I had time, I could have demonstrated you. How many of you know of teachable Google teachable machines? Okay. I don't even need to tell you. I've told you this name. You search, find out. 2 minutes, you can make a machine learning model which recognizes Dr. Taru from me, or from you and you wearing a spectacles. One in which you wear a spectacle, one in which you don't. Or two cows of different species, of different kinds. It is possible to identify it by just showing the image to the AI camera just once for half a minute. I will come back to this process of AI in a moment. But I would like to say this influences every science, every field of human activity, and biology cannot be away from it. I would like to tell you, if you are studying images from the microscopes, then once you get the image, here is a new way of looking at the image. Use AI to look at it. It will tell you what the naked eye can never, or human eye can never contemplate. It will extract deeply hidden artifacts from it, from which you can make very interesting observations about conclusions about what you are studying. So it's basically a new way of looking at data. So this is one. Next. And of course, the amino acid sequences, next, DNA sequences, next, RNA sequences, next. Yeah. All of this can be computationally be studied, and it tells you a lot of things. For example, if you are given 2 genome sequences, it is very easy for computation to say one is prokaryote, other is eukaryote. But if you look at it, you cannot find out. So that is what I meant by computational microscope. Next. So coming back to informational study, this is one of the whole genome work done by one of my PhD students. This is a plant endemic to Kerala, Western Ghats in Kerala. You eat the seed of it. It is not a steroid, but it acts almost like a steroid. For a day, you are full of energy, you don't have to eat. The tribals in the hilly regions of Trivandrum actually are famed in using this. So earlier, you would have looked at the plant and tried to explain, tried to study what family it belongs to, etc. But now our study begins with getting its genome sequenced. I am told your institution has a lot of work in whole genome sequencing. Next. Next, please. And new biology is highly data-driven. Large number of databases are there from which you are trying to understand biology from a new world is data-driven now. Whole world. Next. I earlier mentioned about Darwin. Darwin is no longer a debate. Whether human beings evolved or not is no longer a debate. If anybody debates, just call them, take a sample of their blood or saliva and a bit of sequencing, go and paste it in blasts. However smart they think they are, the first hit shown will be chimpanzee and the next would be orangutan. I really think that it's a wrong way in which Darwin's theory was put forward to the society, that you have evolved from apes. Why is that we are only highlighting that? What Darwin's theory says, or what BLAST says is, you put your DNA sequence, part of it, and get the searches. It is not orangutan alone, chimpanzee alone. And below you will find the horse, elephant, rat, snake. You will go up to the bacteria. So what is Darwin saying? I would say Darwin is saying something that even religion can accept. All living beings are brothers and sisters. That's what he's saying. You highlight something that we don't like. You and The ape are brothers and sisters. We don't like that. But the other one is actually very spiritual statement that all living beings are brothers and sisters. They seem to be related. Next. And I also, when I had casual conversation with your faculty, I understood there is a great awareness about the microbiome in the institute, a lot of research related to that. We understand that our health is not just our health alone. I listened to a scientist saying this very profoundly. He said, if you go by weight, every human being has, let us say, average 60 kilograms of body weight. 1 kilogram is microbiota. 1 kilogram at any point of time, approximately. But this is deceiving. He said this is deceiving. You go by the number of cells. Then your human body has X number of cells. Then the number of microbiome cells sitting in a human body or taking part in the human body is 3 times, 3x. And then he said, do you think that the microbiota is living in your body, or are you living in a large community of microbiota and your body is actually spread around that? I thought that was a very insightful thing to say. And today we are talking about food, how that is related to our health, not only of human beings, but maybe of animals also. So I was mentioning about this. In Kerala, it is called kanji, paranganji. Paranganji means old, watery rice, I would say. And you keep it overnight to ferment, put some yogurt, and put some chili and onion and eat. And I think that this is a treatment not to yourself, but to your fellow microbiota, to make it happy and healthy and to supplement it. And I also think that unknowingly with modernity, what has happened is we have done away with the diversity of the microbiome. So I was mentioning, when last time we met, I was mentioning, my mother would create dahi, yogurt, curd, and if it breaks, sometimes it doesn't set or she forgets to ferment the milk, she doesn't permit it to be replaced by anything else. But I am sent to my grandmother's house to get a sample so that the family, what you have been, just like, you have pet animals, you have actually pet bacteria and you don't want to have something else. Today in Kerala, we don't have such a diversity of these microbiomes because we buy from a state milk producing facility called Milma, and they produce milk as well as yogurt, and they all taste alike, and every family is actually using that. So this is gone. So these understandings about life also have come too late, but possibly this has a great influence in our research about life and especially about health. Next. I think I will stop with this reference. AI revolution, which replaced the muscle power with machines, has come and established itself. And we now have industrial revolution. And now we have the AI revolution, which comes and replaces our mental effort with the computers. Next. So what can AI do? So this is a person who has influenced me a lot in my life. And what he said is very simple, that anything can be taught to anyone. That is what he said. I would like to say, what can AI do? Next. Anything can be learned by AI. Anything can be learned. I think when you do research, you must keep this in your mind. Anything can be learned, provided you give it data, examples. That's all it is required. Next. There is a big difference between AI in the past and now. I would like to say this example with this example. This man, gentleman here, learning a lot. So he was told at 50 years of age, please study Chinese language. He was very enthused to study Chinese language, but he went to the first class. The teacher told him, oh, Chinese language has 20,000 characters. So then his expression is shown here. So he said, no, I don't want to study this. I like learning, but I cannot stand a language with 20,000 characters. But this guy would have learned Chinese easily if his mother planned ahead and when he was 6 months old, child says, oh, I don't want to study Chinese language. It's very difficult. Let me learn something else. So they are immersed in Chinese language environment. They learn. This is the great idea of machine learning. You don't teach a language like you teach an adult. Adults are taught language in a very difficult way. But babies are taught language. They are never taught actually. They just pick up language. So now machine learning does exactly that. It can pick up like a baby, anything it can pick up. Next. So 80 crores of brains have been put together now into ChatGPT. How is it done? I will run through a very quick example. Next. You talk about AI models. Now, when I hear the word model, I think of a beautiful woman. So here is a beautiful woman, and I make her a model trained to double numbers. How do you do that? There are two people who are doubling numbers. Just like that, they are playing a game. This guy says 2, that guy says 4. This guy says 10, that guy says 20. So I asked this model to go and listen to them and learn from them. So she just goes and stands there. She hears this. After some time, next, she understands what they're doing. What are they doing? They're multiplying by 2. So next. So she comes back and says, okay, this is input X, that is output Y. And so all I have to do is take X, multiply it by 2, give it as Y. Next. So you can put it as an equation, Y equals WX. Do you believe whole AI, including ChatGPT, stands on this very simple equation, Y equals WX. But Y need not be a single number, X need not be a single number, W need not be a single number. But still the equation holds, Y equals WX. Next. So doubling, what do you do? W is 2. If you want to create a model that trebles numbers, what do you have to do? Make W equal to 3. If you want to make a model that halves a number, W equals half, 0.5. So this W is called, in the modern terminology, it is called parameter. Parameter. So the simple lesson is that any learning can be reduced by some parameters. Here, doubling is reduced by the parameter W equals 2. And now I have no time to explain further, so I jump to ChatGPT. Next. What is ChatGPT? 1.8 trillion parameters. That's all. If doubling was one parameter, ChatGPT has that is 1,80,000 crores of numbers. With that numbers, the whole wisdom of humanity has been captured. Linguistic wisdom of humanity has been captured. I want to tell you, whatever piece of research you are doing, AI has a scope in it. And we don't need to study calculus or theory behind AI. That's why I said, if you try this software called a teachable Google machine, you will find that there is no programming, nothing. You just show a flower for some time and then switch off the camera, then show another flower for some time, switch off the camera, and then click a button called learn. In half a minute, it comes back and says, I have learned. And then you show any flower, it will identify what flower it is. And you turn it this side, turn it that side, move, doesn't matter. Just like a human being. So my final call is that AI has a tremendous role in research, and life science cannot be far behind in using it. All of you, I request you to get connected to it. Don't be worried about learning it. Actually, you can straight away start using it. Next. So research is I end with this last one. You know, research is a process. I would say in very simple terms, it's look, ask, guess, test, talk. You look around. Maybe, you know, when you say look around, you might be looking through a microscope. But then whenever you see something, you raise questions, ask. And when you raise questions, answers automatically come to your mind. They are guess answers. With your basic knowledge, it automatically comes. And then you test it out, and then you talk about it. You talk about it in conferences. Maybe you talk about it through pages of Nature Communications. Now you mentioned, yeah, through pages of Nature Communications. So it goes on. Next. So it is a tremendous impact that it is having in any field, and biology is no exception. Literature review of 2 lakh papers reviewed in a day by Gemini. 2 lakhs of papers read and reviewed in one go. Next. And this is one of my former PhD students. This is a paper on short gene finding. Gene finding tools does not accept sequences below 200 bases. So I asked her to develop a tool which will accept only sequences below 200 bases. So she developed one, it got published. So I gave this paper to ChatGPT and asked some questions about this. Next. So it raised some questions. And I'm absolutely shocked how no new research scholar would be able to come back with such questions even after a month. Very, very precise scientific technical questions it is asking. Next. And I asked, give a hypothesis based on these questions that you have asked. It also gives one, which I thought was very, very impressive. Next. And the end result of these things is that, AlphaFold I already mentioned, thousands of protein structures have been predicted with great amount of precision. And Google says, the important document called the Golden Age of Discovery says, this is going to have profound impact on pharma industry because the pharma industry is now able to have 200-fold more molecules to look for. Next. 200-fold growth in the protein molecules that are available to be tested as possible for therapeutic properties. Next. And I end here, some people think computers and life are far different. They are actually not. Look at a humanoid robot. It looks like human being. It tries to act like human being. And therefore, biology and computers are not far different. Biologists have ultimate interest in life, especially in the form of human beings. You study animals, but what is your interest? You want animals to be healthy so that you can use its products or use its meat. So human beings and animals are not far away. They are human beings and machines are not far away. They are two sides of the same coin. I would say the interesting difference is that the brain of human beings, we know, compared to that, the brain of the computer is a silicon chip. But what is silicon? It comes from earth. The brain of the machine actually comes from earth. It's a very earthy machine, I would say. And we are looking forward to a time soon, another 20 years, when humanoid robots would be there in our homes. Just like we have cars, we'll have humanoid robots. And what would they do? Well, they will sweep the floor. They will care for the people who are sick. Next. They will make dosha. They can climb the coconut tree, pluck coconuts, make chutney. Next. They can catch snakes. They won't get bitten. Yeah? And they can carry the aged. They want to go upstairs. You don't have to have a lift. They will carry and put you there. Next. And they will actually relieve women of having to carry their babies for 10 months. This is what Elon Musk promises. Quite possible. Next. Okay, I will stop here abruptly. I have shared without any particular logical sequence. I have shared some of my thoughts on life sciences, how it is emerging, what changes are likely to take place, what are already taking place. And I'm very happy to take questions from you on this or any other discussions. Thank you very much.
Excellent talk, sir. So, my question is, on this application, right now we are applying this AI for this image classification. Basically, what we are seeing is identifying the intrinsic parameters, intrinsic hidden information we are extracting. Now, how we can apply this for, sampling for this voice samples? Because we are, I personally am seeing like how to detect, some infected chickens just by recording their voice samples in the poultry farm. So, image classification, clothes augmentation, these Google tools, yes, we can identify that this is this breed, this is that breed. this animal is in heat, this animal is not in heat, perfect time for insemination. These questions can be answered, but I am not seeing the way how to process these voice samples.
I'll answer the question. You see, as far as computers are concerned, there's nothing like image, sound, programs, everything is numbers. Everything boils down to numbers. So image classification is done because human beings take more information through the eyes rather than through the ears. You're continuously seeing, even if you're not hearing, you're continuously seeing. That is why that application is more prevalent. But there is nothing that prevents a similar processing of audio. So I recall some scientists trying to study the sound of bats in the Kerala University. They were trying to analyze that. But to answer your question specifically, there are very well-developed softwares for sound recognition. So if you have the sound made by chickens when they are
Healthy.
yeah. If
And they are infected.
yeah. If you have that, then it is done. So for AI, the baseline is this. Do you have examples of data of two conditions? Whether the data is audio, video, image, or some measurements, for example, body pH or sugar level, all those are numbers. And AI learns using numbers, and nothing prevents it from doing a stellar performance with the audio samples. It's there. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
The syllabus or the teaching can be enhanced so that students start learning biology and maths, look at that as interconnected subjects right from their childhood or right from their schools.
So you ask a very difficult question. How a student learns is like any other problem, is a multi-factored problem. It's not the teacher, not the syllabus, not the university alone, you can say. It's a mixture of all of this. What is the ecosystem in the institution where they study? I would just like to point out one example of difference between students in the US and students in India. Something which we usually don't take note of. An average student in a US university is on a loan. An average student in India is not on loan. Their parents are footing the bill. And they are carefree. They don't have anything to worry. Their hostel bill is paid by the parents. There might be students who have financial difficulties, but I'm talking about an average middle class family. But in an even well-to-do family in US, a student goes to the university, they are on a loan. And what loan? I'm told that there was recently a joke which I saw, a troll which I saw on the YouTube, on the Facebook. It's about old people. So one 90-year-old person comes and says, I've recently joined a dating site, and the dating site is carbon dating. Then he says, I have a happy news to share. I just finished paying my educational loan. 90-year-old guy saying, it is not a joke. It will be, you have to work hard till you're 45 or 50 before your education loan gets paid. That student sitting in a hall listening to a lecture is very different from an Indian student who sits relaxed. Oh, my parents would pay. Good job. Let us think after I finish this letter. Right now, let us have fun. That is one difference. So I do not have a single answer to that, but an inspiring teacher can definitely be a trigger to looking at this interdisciplinary things. And another problem is that one subject that has to hold hands with biology is mathematics. But we have an issue with maths. India got independence in 1947 from the British, but India did not get independence from many other things. The one thing India hasn't got independence from is the fear of maths. You look all over the country, all states, look at the results, you see that maths results are the worst, whatever happens. And you look at the textbooks, you look at the BSc or let's say +2 maths textbook and physics or chemistry textbook. How are they different? You open the physics textbook, many pages of theory, and then a few problems. Look at maths, half a page theory, 25-page problem. No life in math books. No life. Nobody ever cares to say that what you're studying really is there in day-to-day life. Everything in high maths is there in day-to-day life. I got the shock of my life when, after many years of struggling to understand a concept called eigenvector in mathematics, which I never understood, but I could answer, get full marks. Then my father showed me, you take the steel vessel in which your rice is cooked, and asked me to look at that. Then I found my face there in a very strange fashion. But then he asked me to move my face. Then I found that there were two lines in which my face was getting elongated. And he told me that is the eigenvector. I was shocked. I thought it had no physical meaning. So we don't have teachers of abstract science who actually understand their subject well, insightfully. They are able to manipulate the symbols, do problems, solve problems. Even if they have some insight, they are unable to communicate it to others. So we need a bunch of teachers who can actually transform the teaching of mathematics. Then biologists would be happy to look at maths. They would be able to say, oh, here is a process of integration happening. You know, what is integration? No books tell you. Every day morning you integrate. You open the tap of the, open the water tap, and you hold a bucket below that. It is integrating the water, which can be very complicated if you write down the equations. So that is one trigger that I have to give. Another, of course, the curriculum should encourage, there should not be a ups and downs or definitions which says this is difficult or this is more important than the other one. That has to change. I really do not know how these changes can be brought about. But I sometimes tell myself, I'm not Buddha, Jesus, or Gandhi to make transformation in the world. But you are Buddha, Jesus, and Gandhi in your classroom. You have a very small number of people around you. You can transform them, you can trigger them, you can do anything that you want to. You can also spoil them. But that is the role that I usually take, rather than getting up on a pedestal and saying, here, the education system is India has to change. Too small for that. So I confine to a small world that I have. I've been trying to do this. I have no announcement to make for the world.
Well, I have a very general question. So when you had this comparison between human and humanoid, you were saying that humanoid is a silicon, it's a chip. But then human has only one brain, and humanoid is like a compilation of a lot of content and data. And so how is it going to overcome our power? Is it going to become like Rajinikanth's movie in some time later? I mean, just a hypothetical question.
See, whenever human abilities are transferred to machines, machines are better. For example, your heart has a pump, isn't it? If you carry somebody in a human rickshaw, then the human being is pulling it. The energy comes from the human body. But now the car is pulling you. And the car can have as many pistons as it can have. Normally they have 4. We don't have 4 pumps. It has 4. If you want, you can make it 6. You can expand it to any number that you want. So the principle is taken and one machine is produced, then you can expand it to make it very powerful. So similarly, the human brain is now no match for the computer's brain, because human brain cannot store 1.8 trillion parameters, but the computer can. It can hold even more. So what has happened is, in principle, the computer would surpass the human ability and wisdom. In a very general sense, I would say, not in a very specific sense. What would be left of the human being? Would they be equal to us? I would say no. For example, you all have mobile phones. You know how mobile phones mark how our life has changed. 100 years ago, you wanted to eat dosha. You have to think a day before and soak rice and lentils. Is it not dosha popular here, or only idli is popular?
It is.
Dosha is popular. So you have to go and buy rice and lentil, soak them overnight, and the next day you have to sit and make it into a dough, and then let it ferment possibly for some time, and then you make the dosha and then you eat it. Now with your mobile phone, what can you do? One, for example, you just order, the rice and lentil will come to your doorstep. Okay. So if you order, the dosha dough will itself come in a bag. Or if you order, dosha itself will come. But very importantly, to eat it, it still has to be us. No technology is going to replace that effect of you eating dosha, or you listening to music, or you reading a poem. The computer can write a poem, but it can never enjoy a poem. The humanoid robot can make dosha, but it can never eat it. And the joy of us using all of this makes us different. But then your question, broader question, whether it would go on to conquer us or kind of control us, quite likely if some company or government decides to do so. But in a democratic setup, what I foresee is that there would be licensing for humanoid robots, what it can do, what it cannot do. And you cannot just buy a humanoid robot just like that. There will be audit for the AI of the humanoid robot, and somebody will be controlling this. So that is what is more likely to happen. But in countries like China, maybe, there could be a very different thing. The humanoid robot would be very biased and would report to the government if you are doing something which it doesn't like. But in our country, it is very unlikely to happen. In most of the places in the world, it is unlikely to happen. Yes.
Hi, sir. With all these AI models and algorithms which are coming up, we are becoming too dependent on AI and then being just limited to its taking its help. So now AI is also capable of writing research papers. Don't you think it's gonna affect the skill set and productivity of human brain as such?
Yes.
And how are we gonna overcome it?
Good question. See, the dosha I have already explained. Very similar to dosha is education. You get educated not just for a job. The process of going through, the awakening that you get through new knowledge, it makes us happy, makes our life more worthy. Those who realize that understand it and would not. You could use it in a very sensible way. You have written an abstract, and you want ChatGPT to also write an abstract. You compare with yours and then adopt some points from it. I'm game for it. There is no issue with that. As losing skills is inevitable. You are young people here mostly. When you are 35, 40, your midpoint of life, normally at that time, you get some signs of body shutting down in a small way. You have sugar pressure or things of that sort. So when you go to the doctor would, first thing that the doctor would say is, you seem to not have enough exercise. So go and walk every day. So you have a BMW car, so you park it in a place and then aimlessly walk. So I would like to ask, why don't you drive the car? You have a wonderful achievement of science and technology. No, if you drive the car, you don't get the exercise that you want. Isn't it? So people must realize that walking, exercising is a very, very wonderful way of being happy. When your body gets exercised, you are happy. There are happiness molecules produced in your body. If somebody calls themselves depressed. Young people use this word very much. I caution you not to use this word. Simply say, I'm sad, sorry, I'm not feeling good. Because depression is a term that doctors only should use. So if somebody feels very stressed, depressed, what is to be done is to go and play, run, walk, or hit the pillow. All of this really releases some chemicals in your body which makes you feel happy. Similarly, thinking, doing research, talking to people. If I sit down here and get a humanoid robot to come and give this lecture, you might not feel any difference. A humanoid robot that mimics me. But I will lose the joy of talking to you. So when you, at the age of 40, go to the doctor would also tell you, not only walk, but please think. You seem to be unhappy and unhealthy because your brain is not working. Why don't you get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and say the multiplication table for 1 to 12? That is what the doctor might tell you. So wise people would avoid this. Avoid this and really find that this is a collaborator for you. The AI or the humanoid robot is a collaborator for you. What you would enjoy doing, you must do. What you would, through doing, you would find your day worthy, that you must do. This is a personal decision that you have to take.
Yes. So, for example, we all know like we are human being,
Yeah.
and we are very much lazy. Like whatever we used to say, like doctor suggests like a walk. We all know, but we don't do.
Yeah.
So, in a larger prospect, if you see like a majority of the like by in the same way using this AI,
Yeah.
majority of the average popular IQ will go down. No, because everybody will not practice.
Yeah. Actually, I agree, because the physical health has gone down. People's stamina and ability to work has gone down, because you have a lot of machines to help you. So similarly, when computers are used, some of our mental abilities would be gone. But then somebody might ask, why do you want those abilities? For example, I could remember phone numbers of many people when I was very young. But today I cannot even remember my own number. I actually have to give you a call and you have to note down the number. I don't remember what the number is. But then somebody might ask you, why do you want to remember these numbers? What is the great fun in it? That you could write in good handwriting is no longer relevant. Who writes to anybody else? Other than people like me, I sometimes find a joy in writing letters to my friends. They're very surprised. After many years, they get a letter by post. And I also enjoy doing that. But otherwise, what is the fun in having a good handwriting? Only very rarely somebody's handwriting is going to be visible. So some of these skills will vanish, and we cannot do anything about it. It is quite natural that when technology comes, it takes over. And some of those vanishing doesn't really matter. That is what I feel. Yes. Yeah. See, I'm not saying it is good, but I'm saying that is the way it is. Like with health, what you suggested is, when you don't want to walk, even if the doctor says, and then you would think that I have money, I will buy some more medicines. With diabetes, you have 3 ways of doing it: control your diet, eat medicines, do exercise. Any 2 of this is good enough. So you find, okay, a bit of adjustment on the diet and medicines. I won't walk.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. It was a pleasure to hear you. We would like to hear, the music side of you, because you're a
Yeah.
PhD in music too. So I may want to put it in a question. So is there a mathematical basis for music, and your take on that?
Okay, good question. See, behind everything is science is there. There is nothing that happens in the universe which is not science. Everything that happens is science, scientific principles behind it. But let us not mistake that it is designed science and you can produce it with science. For example, music, you can go back and find out what is science in it. You can find you can do Fourier analysis of musical notes. You can find the relationship between the notes, the ratio of frequencies to the notes. But I would say that is nonsense, because people sing not by taking care of all these maths. When you sing, music comes out due to our sense of aesthetics. And we are trying to go behind and explain the maths. But the person who performs does not know the maths. And if they start worrying about the maths, what would happen is their performance would go down. You have seen people who have studied how to make films in Pune Film Institute. I think they're poor guys. They can never watch films again after that. We are all watching films and we are excited or we are sad seeing scenes and the turnarounds in the film. But this guy is looking at it and saying, oh, the camera is now moving like this. The light should have been like this. The audio this is not balanced. Because that is, he knows the science of it. He is thinking like that. So a musician who keeps thinking, oh, I'm now singing sa, the next re should be 16 by 15 times of this. No, nobody thinks like that. It comes out of a great sense of aesthetics, which gives great amount of joy to them. Driven by joy.
Can AI also do that?
You want to see? Can you open the folder? If you ask me what is the greatest success of AI or the victory of AI, I will not say it is AlphaFold or anything like that. Being a person from music background, who has a music background, I would say, can you go to my folder, my pen drive?
Yes. It's there.
So this is a experiment done in an American university by an Indian student. So he plays the violin, and there is a violin in which the bow is controlled by electronics. Can you go to AI for principles? AI and youth also? AI and youth. AI and youth. Yeah. The last one. No, the last one. Yeah, play. So what is happening is this software that runs that violin is trained with a lot of hours of violin playing by human beings. That is all required. See, with the driverless car also, that is what happens. A driver with a uh, camera on his head goes and drives a car for 500 hours in different terrains. And all the sensors are used to pick up what he does with steering, clutch, gear, and all that. That's enough. The computer has learned. Similarly, violin also it has learned. So now it does not learn maths or it does not analyze it by maths, but it is able to do that. So human beings are also like that. No human being who performs music is appraised of or is aware of maths, strong maths behind it, but they're simply trying to use their sense of aesthetics, which is evolved through culture, and some of them is also genetic, because you cannot say it is cultural alone, because if you go all over the world, you will find that these ratio of notes are the same, even though the cultures did not have any interaction. In our Janaganamana is a tune that is famous world over. So if you take America also, they use the same notes in their anthem. Pakistan, don't think I am uh, making positive reference on it, but their national anthem also uses the same tune, same notes. You take UK, it also uses the same notes. These cultures you cannot say have interacted enough to produce this. So this is on your keyboard. Sa, re, ga, ma, pa, da, ni, sa. Where does it come from? From calculation. If you want calculation, you can say first note multiplied, the frequency multiplied by 16 by 15 gives you the second note. But does anybody ever work like that? Any musician ever work like that? It comes out of a joy that music produces, which is universal, happens to be universal. And the science of it we can investigate, but culture does not arise from science. Culture might have a scientific basis which is not intended or not designed by the proponents of culture. That is what I would say in short. Yes. Yeah. Okay. 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 Looking at holy books, you must understand, holy books were written many centuries ago, or many even thousands of years ago. The context of it is different. We can appreciate and evaluate that from that context only. Some of it might make sense now because of your interpretations. Some of this. So, for example, in Mahabharata, there is this person sits here and sees the war going in Kurukshetra. I would say, if you want to take it as a metaphor of distance vision, you can. But I would never think that it was envisaged as a vision. It was a poetic kind of a writing. But some belief is something that we are entitled to have by the right in the constitution. So if you want believe, you can believe so. But I think I exist as two persons. I have a cultural existence and I have a existence in as an academic. As an academic, I would say, no, I don't think that I want to go and take this as a model and assume that it had a scientific basis, it was conceived, designed. But as a cultural person, each of us have freedom to believe so. So I don't want to share my personal faith with you. It has no relevance to you. I can believe whatever I want. I can believe that you won't go to heaven. As long as I don't come and trouble you with that, it is fine. It is like young people, but I would still like to say an example. You know, faith is like sex. It goes on in your home. Nobody needs to come and audit it and make any judgment about it. But the moment you exhibit in public, you have a lot of issues. A lot of things will come up. A lot of questions will come up. So I don't want to go into faith, but I would say metaphors from some of these uh, religious texts might inspire us, might be useful to us on at a personal level. But for me, what I have observed is that I don't always want to use it in a sense of positivism. For example, in Trivandrum, there is this huge temple called Padmanabha Swami Temple, more famous for the treasure that is there inside. 1 lakh crores worth already audited, more remain. So when I was a young boy, I went there along with my grandfather, and I found that during a festival, the huge statues of Pandavas are erected there in front of the temple. When last month it was there. Now it is fiberglass. Earlier it was wood. So they stand in a different order. Bhima first, then Arjuna, then Nakula, then Sahadeva, then Yudhishthira. And very interesting thing is all these 4 guys stand, Yudhishthira sits. So I was a small kid, I asked my grandfather, why is this guy sitting? So he said he is very righteous. He does not want to trouble anybody else. So if he stands, he will stand on the microbes and possibly kill them. So he doesn't want to do that, he sits. Many years afterwards, I got this question. If you sit, there are also microbes and the contact area is possibly bigger. And would it be fair enough to do that? But then from a faith point, how do you look at it? You look at it as symbolic. You can look at it as symbolic. You want to explain it in, when you say somebody is talking about somebody else, he says, oh, he has 1,000 tongues when he talks about that girl. Now, you didn't mean that he has 1,000 tongues. It's metaphorical. So when Lord Brahma, you say you have 4 faces, I would say it is metaphorical. It says he sees everything in all directions. But whether you want to put it as a person with 4 faces is up to you. Ravana has 10 heads. I am always confused with that. So how does he divide that on both sides? Normally you see a picture of 1 head here. So if you take 1 out of 10, then you have 9 remaining. So 5 have to go here and 4 have to go here. And then it would be slightly imbalanced. You would have a problem. Then my grandmother told me, when I questioned this, my grandmother told me, no, that is all, you must take it with a pinch of salt. Ravana wore a 9 diamond necklace with 9 precious polished stones. And you could see 9 reflections of his face in it. 9 plus 1, 10. You can interpret in any way you want. So drawing from religious literature for personal inspiration, we have no issues. Anybody can do anything. But I think that, I don't want to hurt anybody, but I think that these are divinely inspired human creations. And they have a context in which they have to be read. There is a time in which they were created. Maybe some of you find some of it interesting, inspiring. You can. Some of you find some of it illogical. It also has to be taken like that. That's my quick feel. Does that answer you? Yeah. Yeah. Probably the time. Yeah. So instead of priming the human, why we are priming the computer? Okay. See, human training is possible if you take 100 students and ask them to be trained like that in Olympiad. That would be very painful for most of them. Some of them are attuned to it, they would get trained. But generally, students won't like that kind of training. In India, we had people who could recite the whole Vedas by heart. Today, is it easy to do that with 100 students you take randomly? They would find it very painful to do that. And so therefore, I take the spirit of your question. We must also have human beings who are trained. But human beings have another problem. Unlike computers, they automatically get trained without us intentionally doing it. For example, I'm wearing a Kerala dress. In my home, when I go out, if I always remove this and wear pants, I never told my child anything. But the child gets a notion, this is not good dress to be worn outside. This is taught by training without us doing anything. The child observes this very closely. With food also that happens, when somebody comes, Amma doesn't give the same food that she gives me. She gives me tapioca and, some stuff like that. But when somebody else comes, you put cashew nuts, you put cake and, that is training. So the child understands that this food is not good, shameful food to be eaten secretly. So if somebody came to your house from the West and you provided them kanji, rice gruel, and a piece of idli, then the child understands, oh, this is very special food we are giving to the special guest. The child learns, but most of us don't do that. We give, when the Westerner comes, we give them sandwich and omelette and things of that sort. So the child gets a training automatically. So this automatic training goes on. The other one, yes, it is possible for us. Everyone, but it is an important train. People must be trained to live together peacefully. That also is very important for us. Whatever achievement we have, we cannot live peacefully together. All lost. That training must be there.
Just what do you very nice lecture about putting various things together. I just wanted to know what is your opinion on the role of AI in ML on less predictive things such as psychology or even conscience, and would there be an influence of these fields on these?
I would leave out the conscience because it is not possibly well accepted as to what it is and what its manifestations are. But psychology, I would say already there is a great impact. I'm sure you all read Yuval Harari. See, if you put a camera on your face, what is psychology? People fear psychologists because you think they can read your mind. So the common definition of a psychologist is somebody who can see what is happening inside your mind. Now, if you put a camera on your face, it can read you. What can it read you? It can say whether you are right now agitated, whether you are about to commit a crime, whether you are sexually aroused. All of this, it can read from your face, given enough data. Harari actually makes very controversial reference to what it can read. You can actually find out from the book. So, psychology is definitely going to be affected by what the AI camera is going to do. You can look at people, and so they are talking about positive impacts of this. In future you will have predictive policing. You come out of your house, the police is there saying you're going to do some crime, isn't it? You're planning to do some crime. You're under arrest. That is called preventive policing. Actually, today it is used in some malls, big malls. A camera is there. The camera looks at the face of every person who walks in. They know who is agitated and about to commit crime, who is sensitive, can read. When human beings can sometimes read, isn't it? Retired police officers can possibly sit in the veranda and see somebody walking and say, that guy is up to some trouble. So the same thing the AI camera can pick up. So I would think that it is going to have a lie detection. I would like to tell you, young people, you are in for big trouble if lie is going to be detected. Some people say post-truth is very dangerous. Post-truth society, there is no truth anymore. But if there are no more lies, you have even more difficult life to live. For example, I talk, afterwards somebody is asked to say a vote of thanks. Nobody says, what a boring lecture and you never stop. Don't you understand? We have to take lunch. Nobody says that. The minister comes, we have all very sharp political differences with him, but nobody comes and says what you normally say about him in front of the dining table when on the TV his face is shown. You say, switch off, this guy is better, somebody kill him. You might say that, but when you see the minister, what do? You say, our most honorable minister who is pride for the whole country. So you live with lies. You cannot live without lies. I would say the dress that you wear itself is a lie. Your real body is sitting inside. You're covering it with a dress. This guy in Sravana Balgola who stands tall, that is the only guy who is truthful because he couldn't justify why he should be covering his body. So he does some small adjustments. I know that in that sculpture you can see that. But as a principle, he thought to be truthful means remove your dress first. So without saying lies, we cannot live. And I think that people who fall in love are going to have big trouble. So the girl is having a mobile app installed. In Malayalam, you call it Premam or Pranayam. So Pranayam app is installed. And so the guy comes and says, oh, I love you so much. You are the most beautiful woman on earth. Then the camera reads his face and gives a beep saying, lie, lie, lie. I think pranayam is built upon beautiful lies, which actually are the only truth at that point of time. That is what I can recall from my days of young days. But imagine if you cannot. So don't you say a lot of lies every day? You do. We all do. Please don't say no. If anybody who comes and says a very truthful person would only say, maybe Gandhiji or Jesus, Buddha, maybe yes. Ordinary souls living with lies. If the camera is going to find out that, in for real trouble. Director would put a camera in every room. She gets information. She just issued an order the day before saying that instead of 9:30, you have to come at 9:50. So the camera tells 50% of the people would really like to crush you if they get you chance to do that. They're not doing it. And when you see that, you wouldn't realize that. They would say, oh, madam, very glad to meet you. So if you cannot, so culture is built upon lies actually. You cannot be, why is Lord Krishna more popular than other gods? It is because he has committed, he has said lies, he has committed mistakes, and he does not hide them. Other gods try to say that they're all righteous. Everything is correct with them. Krishna is like most of us. All kinds of mischiefs he does. So when we realize the importance of such mischiefs, we understand that, to lie is really means to live. Did I carry too far?
Actually, we have few more things lined up.
Yeah,
So,
but,
and it was very interesting
He's
to
very
hear from
faithful. He's asking,
no.
he's asking me to stop. And I understand the.
But people are not stopping you to no one is saying that we should stop and conversation should go on
Like,
Call it diplomatically, strategy.
yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. I enjoyed speaking to you. Madam said she wants me to interact, and you're all full of questions. That really makes me remember this lecture. Thank you very much.
So, may I request Dr. Madam to felicitate the guest?
Yeah, sure, please.